Imagine.
Hi there, and welcome to Considering Comic Books. This week we're going to be chatting to a good friend of mine. He's been on briefly before, but I don't really think we were sort of talking about something very specific last time, and I think this time we're going to be more open-ended, have a bit of a ramble, but we also want to talk about something that a lot of British comic fans in particular will be well acquainted with, and that is the anatomy of a future shock, which is a short story, usually a sci-fi premise with a twist ending, and 2000 AD readers very well acquainted with these, and indeed some of the greatest writers and artists in British comics have made their bones doing these. So without further ado, it's my pal, the legendary artist Glenn Fabry. Glenn.
Hello.
Hello. We were just out for coffee and we were having a chat, and you said, Let's do a podcast. We'll go down and.
It wasn't my suggestion, man.
Yeah, it was. You said, "Come on, we'll go around to my gaff."
You wanted to do a podcast.
I did.
Know,
yeah.
I also know.
So you were facilitating me. That's very kind of you. Okay. Well. Anyway, we decided we'd do a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say it was my want and your fulfillment of. So yeah, yeah, very good. So anyway, we were going to talk about. I just mentioned in the opening there, the anatomy of a future shock. Have you done many future shocks, or will this be? Glenn and I should preface this by saying that Glenn and I are going to be doing a future shock
very shortly.
Very shortly, yeah.
Very shortly indeed.
And have you done a future shock before, or is this your first? Or?
No, I've done one other future shock, which sort of basically I'd stopped sort of work on. I think it was Slaine the King, and the people at 2000 AD wanted me to do another piece of artwork for them before getting made redundant, really, before they brought in Simon Bisley to do Slaine the Horned God.
Is that bitterness I sense in your voice?
Yes! Yeah, very much. A huge amount of bitterness. Because, I mean...
And Slaine the Horned God would Slaine would be the strip that sort of really grabbed or pushed Bisley, I should say, into the comic book stratosphere, wasn't it? So.
Well, yeah. So the thing was, right, that Simon was doing Slaine in full colour. And they'd just got the opportunity to have full colour printing in 2000 AD. But the stuff that I did on Slaine was, still reasonably popular before Simon showed up and became God. So they asked me whether or not I'd like to do some other kind of black and white stuff just before I was sent off into the wilderness, into the gulag, if you will. And I said, oh yeah, all right, I'll do a future shock. And they said, well, all right, come on, do one. Do you want to write it? I went, don't know how. So I've got a friend of mine who's actually a guy that I used to work down the garage with in Shepperton High Street in Shepperton in England, a guy called Chris Smith. And he was at the London College of Film at the time. So I thought, there you go. Might know a little bit about storytelling and whatnot, and we came up with a sort of stupid future shock about a giant robot doctor who was going to capture the protagonists and cut them up into little pieces. And I can remember showing the story to sort of Pat Mills. It's very kind of dismissive of it, because there was a sequence where the heroine character escapes through like crawl space airlock kind of thing. So they crawl up and they go through the ventilation shaft in order to make their escape. And I can remember Pat Mills going, yawn, yawn, yawn. That is so fucking regular. Everybody does that all the time. But it was too late. We'd already used it, and anyway. So, Chris Smith gets to be the writer of a Future Shock, and I got to do the drawing of it. And I think it was the last stuff I did for 2000 AD for, I don't know, a couple of years, I think.
It was the last story you did for 2000 AD for a couple of years.
The last anything, I think.
Oh, really? What were you doing in the wilderness years?
I was working for DC.
DC Vertigo. Yeah, so that would have been Hellblazer and...
Yeah, all of that stuff kind of started up.
Oh, I see. That's interesting because it's two interesting things. One, it seems like getting in to do a Future Shock was infinitely easier, 30 years ago?
It wasn't getting in to do a Future Shock, mate.
Oh, not for you, but for Chris.
Oh, he couldn't give a toss. He was at the London College of Film. He was going to become the next Fellini or something.
So he was just like, I'll do it for you, Glenn.
Yeah,
You and your little comic.
Yeah, exactly. But what ended up with Chris was his mate, his classmate, ended up directing Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Wow.
Which meant everybody in his class at the London College of Film, was pretty much expected to know this bloke, and as soon as he managed to get some Hollywood money, he would just diss them. So they'd never work in Hollywood at all. And I don't know, it's probably the same in film as it is in comics, but for a little bit more money.
Right, okay. So basically you scud the competition?
Yeah.
I dread to think what things have been said behind closed doors, especially about me and my podcast. They've been like, "There's that Dick McCann with his podcast again."
Yeah,
so
that's what we do, man. That's what we do.
Yeah. Well, here, listen. The other interesting thing is that you stopped working for 2000 AD for a period of years to do Vertigo stuff. So you done one Future Shock and you did Vertigo for a while. And what made you decide to come back to 2000 AD, or did they offer, or?
It was the opportunity to do Slaine, but in full colour and painted.
Oh, okay.
So I thought I'd kind of take on Bisley. I'd show Bisley.
So
I did,
Return of the King.
Return of the King was black and white. Then it was Horn of God, but I did Slaine Demon Killer.
I've got it. I bought it last time I was in. Where was I? I think I was in Leeds.
Right.
I was in Leeds, and I bought it while I was over there because I wanted to show my wife that this bloke that I went to the pub with was actually a spectacular,
he wasn't just
spectacular
a
2000 AD artist.
Like he was at the pub.
And she said, I cannot believe that Glenn drew this. And I said, yeah, he actually...
Because there I was, urinating against the lamppost and that kind of thing.
Standard.
Yeah.
Standard.
So usual activity. And,
But, yeah, so, I mean, I've completely lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Anyway, yeah, so coming back to Vertigo briefly. So you started off with Hellblazer with Garth Ennis, and he'd put you in there. We talked about this before, where he sort of lobbied for you to get in, Hellblazer, and then he had a little mini series. I think it was you on covers. It seemed like a precursor to Preacher in a way. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Can you remember the name of it?
A cowboy.
Yes.
Like an evil cowboy guy. I think it was Carlos Esquerra doing the interiors. Of it, because Garth has always been a big fan of Carlos.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it either.
No, they can. If any of our listeners know, they can stick it in the comments.
It was a cross-looking cowboy bloke. It was kind of a precursor of the Saint of Killers.
The Saint of Killers, yeah. And then there was that, and then was the next big thing Preacher, or did that not come around until later?
Well, I was on Hellblazer for I think a year or two.
Yeah.
Sort of doing those, and by that point, people started phoning me up from America, asking me to do, sort of cover commissions.
Sure.
So for about 10 years, I was essentially just not doing interiors of comics anymore. I was doing cover commissions. I was supposed to be finishing off Judge Dredd, Batman Die
Batman, yeah, that was the Dark Judges.
Yeah. And I was also, in my brain, I was up against Simon with that as well. So
because he'd done Judgment in Gotham.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought if you could do Judgment in Gotham, I'll be better. You did that in Slaine. I'm going to do that kind of nonsense. But the thing was, it was fully painted, and it was taking me like 2 weeks to do a fully painted page of Judgment on Gotham Die Laughing.
Yeah.
But it was taking me about a week to do like a cover for Marvel or whatever it is. The cover for Marvel or DC was bringing me in about $1,000 and a bit, and 2 weeks' work on a page of Judgment on Gotham was about £200.
Yeah.
So obviously,
interiors. So it's covers versus interiors. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to try and pay the bills.
I see.
Yes.
Well, that's quite interesting. I didn't realise that you and Bisley had such a sort of, guess it would be a friendly rivalry.
No, it was. That was what it was.
Yeah, I didn't.
That was it, mate.
Because I spoke to him last time. I spoke to him was in Bristol. It was the first time I met him, but also.
He's an interesting fellow.
He's a nice bloke, and we had quite a lot to drink. I believe we were up to.
No.
Yeah, I know. He's such a reserved character normally.
Yeah.
But we ended up drinking to about, it must have been 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's when we went upstairs and found you having a kip. Yeah. You were at the hotel room, and I went up and you were having a sleep before you did your disappearing act. Into the middle of the night, do you remember?
No. I was drunk. What do you expect?
Well, so the important thing is that you were found and returned in time for the con the next day. But yeah, I was talking to Bisley, and he really has a lot of love and respect for you as an artist, and also as a person. And he was singing your praises all night.
I fucking love Simon. Simon's brilliant.
He is a nice
guy.
Very, very nice bloke. And
he can get away with anything. Sort of Simon, he's got a quality about him. It's not just that he's a good artist and all that kind of stuff. There's something else about him that enables. He's Teflon.
He can say outlandish things.
Can absolutely get away with anything. Whereas, if I say something that sounds slightly disorderly, I'll be locked up overnight.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's maybe because he's a bit larger than life. I mean, I saw people come up to him who were fans of his work, and they were it was strange because I think it was a fan and his son, and
keep going, mate.
yeah, I'll keep talking while you go and do that. It was a fan and his son came up, and basically what happened was the little boy was in awe that he was meeting the person responsible for this artwork that he'd seen. And Bisley was brilliant with the kid, and he must have seemed like a larger than life character to him because he's such a big bloke anyway. But I just remember thinking maybe that's how he gets away with all this stuff, because he's almost he's surreal in a way, and larger than life. Whereas I'm not saying you're a pedestrian, Glenn, but
yes, you are. I can read in between the lines there, mate. That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm sorry, darling. I didn't mean to upset your feelings. Anyway,
sensitive, autistic.
I know.
Flower.
Well, isn't this one of the things about artists, people in the creative industry? We all are quite artsy and sensitive.
That's what makes us special.
Yeah. Well, I've
special school.
I always used to think whenever, because obviously I used to do a regular 9 to 5, and I still do. I work part-time jobs and stuff to pay the rent. but not to the extent that I used to, because I sort of gave it all up to pursue my dream. But
Pursue your muse.
Pursue my muse, yeah. But the thing is, I always felt like I wasn't built to do what I was doing. And you spoke briefly about whenever you were younger, you worked in a garage.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a compulsion to do something else. It was almost like a biological need to do something creatively fulfilling.
That is apparently what makes you an artist. You know,
Yeah.
that is the kind of thing. It's like you need to do it, not that you have to do it. That's one of the things that if somebody from commercial art ever tries to get into fine art, that is one of the criteria that sort of fine artists like sort of qualify. See, made a difference between the T and the F there. Qualify, not quality, but maybe quality and qualify. Who can tell? Yeah, the whole point of it is if you're going to be a proper artist, it's because you have to do it.
Yeah.
It's because,
And sometimes that, I think that comes with all the bumps in the road, doesn't it? Because you often hear, it's the old myth of the struggling artist. But that's not really a myth, that's a real thing. And I've noticed,
it's documentary, mate.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's a lot of people in the artistic industry pursuing their dreams. It's very difficult at times to, survive while pursuing this, and that, I guess that's a real bugbear for a lot of creative types. It's historically been their problem that they have to, sometimes you have to take the financial hit in order to pursue a career in music or acting or art or writing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it can be difficult to balance both, and so the success stories are they're guys like yourself are actually quite inspiring, because it shows you that if you slog it out long enough and you make the right connections and you do and you do really good work. I was getting to it, and you do really good work, then
Yeah, anybody could do it. As long as I was going to say, try hard enough and try long enough, and then know the right people, they'll be fine.
No, I do. Well, obviously, there's a modicum of talent involved. You're not just making Burger Kings, but I think you have to have a natural ability in there somewhere as well.
There are loads of different things that sort of qualify along these lines, in order to sort of make things work out. The good grace of God, and all that sort of timing, or whatever the fuck, some sort of thing. There are sort of plenty of people I know who are absolutely brilliant at what they do, but they, because of whatever, maybe they're too worried about what people are going to think of their work or something like that they don't actually go the distance that they should do. There's all sorts of different kind of bits and pieces kind of involved in it.
It's a common thread I've heard before, and that is that a lot of artists, especially perfectionists, have an issue with showing their work or completing their work. And it's funny, we had a similar conversation coming in, because you showed me a sketch you'd done of Jesse and Tulip from Preacher. It's not a sketch, a painting, and you were saying that your daughter Kitty had said, that's it, it's done, Dad, and you said to me, it's not done.
That's his impersonation of me.
My impersonation of Glenn Fabry.
I don't sound like David Mitchell. I don't sound like David Mitchell on helium. That's how he impersonates me. Listen, every single person that ever speaks to Mark McCann, at some point or another, when you're not there, he will do an impersonation of you.
I will do it when you're there as well.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, yeah. Do you do it in front of Ryan Brown?
Of course I do. I've done impressions to Ryan all the time.
Do your Ryan Brown impersonation?
Whenever I phone up Ryan Brown, I always say to him, hey, I phoned you up specifically to do an impression of you down the phone. And you love it, don't lie.
Oh yeah, I'm laughing. You know, I'm going to break a rib any second now. Crack one. You know.
Well, you've already broken a clavicle.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Glenn had an accident in Miami, was it?
Yep.
Miami.
When I went to Miami, Florida, and it's been hot over here in Ireland, but over in sort of Miami, it's like 3 times as hot. And the thing is, whenever I go to conventions, like more or less anywhere these days, I try and get there as early as possible and go the entire day through it. So I make as much money as I possibly can. You know,
Pay those bills.
pay those bills. Oh, and meet the fans and love them.
Oh yeah.
But basically money, really. It's like I've been over this kind of particular juncture. It's like the lawn of the hotel and the convention centre was 10 minutes away. The day before, I'd done that journey about like sort of 8-10 times. You know, like sort of get there.
Yeah.
And it was the following day. It was the Saturday. I had to sort of basically get to the convention, and I made the mistake of walking across the only wet piece of grass in all of Miami. Because what they'd done, the hotel had actually got a hose pipe running underneath the grass.
Okay.
So the grass would look green in front of the hotel. Otherwise it would be brown and dried
wilted,
and sort of crap looking. Trod on a wet bit, and I fell over and actually broke my clavicle.
And you know what is really amazing about this whole story is that you got your sling on and you came back
I got my sling on.
and you carried on, you soldiered on and continued to do sketches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So utmost respect.
Yeah. Well, I told you that bit about all of the superheroes walking by, didn't I?
Oh yeah, they all ignored you, didn't they?
Yeah, all of the cosplay guys.
And
We
they
did
just
this on the last podcast?
no, I don't think we did.
No,
No.
all right. So there I am. I mean, I was like, oh, fucking hell, I've fallen over. And I tried to get up, and all of a sudden I found out I couldn't, which was like a bit crap. Jesus Christ. So I'm lying there on this kind of wet piece of lawn in front of the hotel in Miami, Florida, and these superheroes are walking by, like sort of Thor walks by. I said, can you give us a hand up here?
Excuse me, Thor, seeing as how you're
Thor.
Yeah, you're a superhero.
No.
He just left you.
Yeah, he just left me there. And Iron Man walked by. Fucking Captain America.
So the Avengers are basically shit and don't don't help out people in need.
But Trekkies, because William Shatner, the Shat.
Oh yeah, the Shat. He was there.
He was a guest there, so he had a Trekkie following. 2 Trekkie guys, well, a guy and a girl actually, came past. They picked me up, took me back to the hotel. I ordered an ambulance. So went off to the hospital in the ambulance. Spent 2 hours in the hospital. They gave me a nice sling, which I've still got today.
You were wearing it out to coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And all well and good. So 2 hours in the hospital in America, they charged me £700.
Fuck. That's the American healthcare system, isn't it? It's not cheap.
Yeah. No, you never be ill in America for whatever reason.
Or you're in danger.
And I wasn't even fucking drunk, man. It was like, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I just wanted to get there in time to start earning some money.
Do you think you would have been? It would have been a bit more permissible. You would have been a bit more all right with it had you had a few. You could have went. At least I was drunk.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have broken your clavicle had you been drunk.
because you're bouncy when you.
Yeah, this is how. Apparently, there's a statistic that car crash victims who are drunk are more likely to survive because your body goes loose.
So anybody listening to this, take this as a word of advice. As soon as you get in the car, have tons to drink. When you crash into anybody, you'll be fine.
Oh dear.
That'd be great.
I'll have to edit that bit out. No, I'm only joking. But serious statistic. Apparently, whenever your body goes loose. So this is advice if you're falling out of a window. I heard a.
Hurry up and get drunk as you're falling out the window.
Yeah.
Knock back as many doubles as you possibly can. before he hit the ground. You'll be all right.
Well, I heard a story about a baby was dropped out of
A drunk baby.
Well, it's because the baby was smaller and more malleable, and it didn't break any
Got
bones.
drunk quicker. Because
That's what it was. Yeah, the bottle was full of whiskey, so you know, it was teething. So the mum had loaded it up, and you know how it goes. And that's where it starts as well. You know, starts.
Yeah, so that is how. I mean, I was born in 1961, and that is how you kept your baby quiet. You put a bit of whiskey in with the milk.
Does this explain a lot of things?
Possibly. Very possibly it does. But, you know, that's how my grandmother did it, my grandfather did it, and all of that.
Yeah, I do actually recall that, and I mean, it still is a cure for the cold over here. They call it a hot toddy. I don't know what you would call it.
I've heard of hot toddies.
Hot toddy, and a hot toddy is whiskey, hot water, a lemon, and some cloves. Cloves? Cloves, maybe it's cloves.
So you're going to be fully dressed. You're naked before you have one of these things.
Yeah. So anyway, cloves. Jesus Christ. So you have to take it like that. And apparently, anytime I've got a really bad head cold or anything like that, I would knock back a hot toddy or two, and it definitely alleviates the symptoms for sure. Right. It's an old wives' cure, really, you know. Yeah. But anyway.
So if you know any old wives.
Yeah, absolutely. Even handier, they could make it for you. Getting back to the Future Shock. So we're going to do a Future Shock, and I've written this. Shall we tell people how this came about?
Yes.
It came about. I met you about 2 years ago in a loft where you were doing a painting. We'd met in the bar, and you had said, "I'll do a strip for you." And then you realised that you were actually under pressure for other deadlines. And so we had a chat, and then, we met up for a couple of pints and coffees and stuff like that, and we sort of kept in contact. And then eventually you said, why don't we were going to do something called Dr. What to begin with.
Yeah, originally, yeah.
Yeah, and Dr. What was a riff on Doctor Who.
Obviously.
Yeah, and then it came around to let's do a Future Shock.
Now, we sent off Dr. Watt to Matt Smith at 2000 AD.
Oh,
and, he said, no, we've already done a piss take at Doctor Who.
Oh, did you send that off?
No, I was speaking to him about it on the telephone.
Oh.
I said, I've got this great idea, Matt. And he said, no, we've already done a piss take at Doctor Who. I think it's something else.
So Tharg said no.
Tharg said no.
And then you said to me, just do up a generic Future Shock then, didn't you?
Yeah, well, you wanted to be published in 2000 AD.
Yes, I did.
That's the thing.
And you got the crowbar in the door and said, my mate.
I stuck my foot in the door, I slammed it really, really hard. And I sort of broke a couple of metacarpals or whatever it is down there. And we've got the possibility to do it. So
Yeah, so I've written it, and you've got a couple of different deadlines. You've got a hit. You've got a few commission pieces to do, and then you're gonna.
Well, it's not that far off. In fact, it's going to be next week.
Yeah.
Sort of basically, there's a few things got finished off over the next day or so, and the next day or so is going to be in the weekend, and then I'm going to attempt to be a professional comic strip artist again, rather than just sort of an illustrative sort of cover commissions guy.
And when was the last time you actually did interior work? I know that you did Neverwhere, which was adapted by yourself and Mike Carey from the Neil Gaiman book, and then you did the Steve Niles.
Lot 13.
Lot 13. Was that your last interior work?
I have been working on this thing called Mute.
Oh yeah,
with,
Mute.
Sort of Duncan Jones. It's supposed to be for Dark Horse. The original idea for that would be that all the Duncan Jones's films, up till Warcraft had been sort of self-financed.
Uh-huh.
You know, so it's like an independent film director. And there was this interview with him in SFX, I think, or some kind of science fiction
sci-fi
thing.
mags.
Yeah, and they were asking him after Source Code, what was he going to do next? And he said, I quite fancy doing a graphic novel. And so, oh, really? And he went on a bit about what the project was going to be like. And he said, any idea what artist you'd like to use? And he said, somebody like Glenn Fabry. And, Nikki, my wife at the time, sort of saw that on the internet and sort of pointed it out to me. And I read it and I thought, hang on a minute, I'm more like Glenn Fabry than most people I know. I'll have to try and find out a way to get in contact with Duncan Jones, which I did through a kind of a roundabout series of ways. We finally got in contact and he sent me some sort of pages for it. We spoke on a couple of occasions and I started working on it. And I've still got about 70 pages of unprinted mute artwork which have been paid for by Dark Horse. They're over there in the corner in this room as we speak. And what happened was that Duncan Jones ended up doing the Warcraft movie for Legendary Pictures.
That's right, yeah.
Which, although it wasn't that critically or commercially acclaimed in Europe or America,
did well in China.
Everybody in China saw it. So he doesn't really need me and my graphic novel anymore.
Because he's funded.
Yeah, he's already. So I think he's already made Mute. It's sort of out on
Netflix. Yeah.
But I can't, I can't watch it because I'm still finishing the last few bits.
So you've got your vision.
To go.
Yeah.
But I think the problem that I had with that project was essentially financial, because everything is hand to mouth.
It's very labour intensive. Again.
No, it's not a question of what you feel like doing or what you want to do or anything like that. It's often a question of you need to have 200 quid in by next week, otherwise you don't have central heating anymore. That kind of crap.
Yeah.
People, because I've been working around forever, people often are under the misapprehension that I'm, sort of got shitloads of royalties. But I don't, it's all, I'll do a piece of work, get some money in, and then the money runs out and I have to do another piece of work. So it's kind of like that.
Well, it's funny because I was listening to a podcast recently, and that seems to be there was sort of a tradesman like work ethic attached to artists who came in sort of before your generation and of your generation. So the idea of mega royalties is a relatively new thing, I think, in that previously you did your work, you got paid for it. There was the idea of something getting optioned as a movie or a TV show, or whatever it was going to be, is a relatively new concept. And so
not so much. I mean, both Garth and Steve Dillon, God bless his soul, they did extremely well at the Preacher. And I was just on the covers.
Yeah,
I got paid a flat fee.
You were commissioned for covers only then?
And that was it. So there wasn't any kind of royalty indulged in that. And I think, in fact, the collected Dead or Alive Preacher covers book was really because Garth and Steve felt a bit guilty. They were making a shitload of money out of it, and I was still, sort of getting paid a flat fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. I see. So, I mean, ultimately, that meant you could recoup a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, and it just goes to show you that they were, they saw that and they were prepared to dive in and...
Oh, they made shitloads though, mate. They really fucking made shitloads. And it was just,
Yeah, but you see that a lot nowadays, like Charlie Adler, I think he made massive amounts of money from Walking Dead. And it was the same with Robert Kirkman, so it's because all of these properties are now optionable, and it's like comics is the ground floor for current TV culture, film culture. Superheroes are massive at the minute. Comic book properties are very easy to pick up and translate.
Well, back in the day, with Marvel and DC, where it was, the idea was that there'd be a movie coming out, based on whomever. And there'd be a comic book that would come out and it would apply itself to the movie, and the comic book would then sell millions because people saw the movie and liked it and went to the comic shop and bought a comic book version of it. But that just went, I'd say about 15, 18 years ago, something like that. Because the movie would come out and people wouldn't rush to buy the comic book version of the movie or the paperback novel version of the movie, generally written by Alan Dean Foster.
Yes. Yes, I know,
You remember those?
Yeah.
What they had instead is a computer game.
Yes.
So instead of buying a comic book for fucking 10 quid or whatever it is, spend 30 quid, you can have a computer game.
You can have a virtual experience, so it's sort of been supplanted.
Yeah.
Do you feel? It's funny because I remember the last really, really big influx into comic books of a movie property was Batman '89, because everyone had Batman fever. And there were, that and the death of Superman, which wasn't, a movie event, but it was an event. And
the big thing about the death of Superman, as far as the comic was concerned, it sold millions because people were thinking, in 25 years' time,
this will be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's not, because there were millions of copies of Death of Superman available.
Flooded the market.
Yeah. So, your copy of Death of Superman is probably worth less than you paid for it in the first place. Unless you've got it encased in, sticky back plastic or whatever it is, and you keep it
Carbonite.
in a dungeon for carbonite, 200 years, and everybody else's copies have been burnt.
Yeah, they've deteriorated in the great nuclear war of
You put in one of those iron boxes and buried it underground, and then you dig it up, and it's been eaten by mice.
Well. It's interesting because, like you say, I don't think you do have people coming into comics as much off the back of movies, but also something I talk about a lot, and I think this is definitely to blame, is the deterioration of comics in the corner store. You used to be able to go in and they'd be on the shelf, whereas now comics seems to be something that is you have to get it solely through your local comic book retailer, and that could be,
or get it online.
Yeah, or get it online. Yeah, so to go to a comic book retailer or to, I think the nice thing about going into a comic shop is you're going to be talking to somebody who's interested, and they'll give you good recommendations. Yeah. So it's great, But it used to be that you would walk into your corner shop, and there'd be a copy of Eagle, 2000 AD. Marvel compendiums, DC.
We're going back ages now.
Yeah,
Do you remember the point? Because they'd only get about, I don't know how many copies of Spider-Man or Howard the Duck they'd get.
Yeah.
But there'd be a point where you'd know that somebody else was going to be buying Spider-Man or Howard the Duck. So you had to be in there first.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Pick up a copy.
You remember there was a limited amount of 2000 ADs in my local newsagent, and I had to be there on
somebody else would have got it
somebody
before,
else would have got it before me. So you made and I do recall Mark Millar trying to bring that back, that sort of ideology back, by putting comic books back into corner shops with Clint, I believe it was a lot of his strips from Image Comics. He'd done reprinted, but he also had the likes of Frankie Boyle.
I met him.
You met Frankie Boyle?
Yeah, he's a lovely guy.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard he's a nice bloke. Yeah.
He's one of those men, you look at him and you know that he can, if you shaved him, he'd be able to grow a beard just like that. It'll come out.
Yeah.
A whole beard immediately.
Yeah, he's got that Brillo pad type beard.
Yeah.
Unlike me, it takes me like a...
That's great. And there's also Mark Millar was sort of makes with Jonathan Ross as well.
Jonathan Ross, yeah. Wassy. He's got a massive comic book collection, which a lot of people don't know. He actually wrote a couple of comics as well.
Well, no, he wrote them, I think, originally for Clint.
He wrote them, yeah, they got picked up for Image, and then I saw them reprinted in Clint, and he had that vampire, alien, gangster, mobster crossover.
That was the thing.
That was it. That's
really nice artwork.
I'm trying to remember who did the art. He's actually a really lovely artist. It was quite a good series. And Wassy did that, and did he do another series?
No idea.
And then he sort of fell off the comic scene because I haven't heard anything about him since. Yeah, maybe
He keeps on showing up on Dave.
What, as a panelist?
Yeah.
Panel guest on one of their quiz shows on Dave.
What about, it's only you might still have a chat show on ITV every now and again?
I don't know, because I don't really watch that much TV anymore. I watch a series on Netflix or something, and I'll watch my way through a series, but I don't watch that much terrestrial TV.
Always got the TV on while I'm working. But there's a differential that you have to be able to use, because if the TV is too good, then you spend all your time watching TV rather than concentrating on your work. But if it's just too crap, it just drives you insane. So what you've got to do is find something that's not too good and not too crap. And generally, I choose like Quincy.
You like a bit of 1960s, 1970s detective TV shows, don't you? Quincy, QC, the Sweeney.
It's not 60s, 70s, man. That's 1980s. No, but, oh God, Minder and the Sweeney. I'll tell you what, the Sweeney is too fucking good. I mean, the Sweeney is just insane. I mean, Minder is quite good-natured, but the Sweeney is just mental. Because you've got like Inspector Reagan, played by John Thor, and in the Sweeney he'll do things like he knows that a bank robbery is going to occur across the road, so what he does is he goes to a prostitute that's opposite the road from the bank robbery, and he's in there with his prostitute drinking bourbon straight out the bottle with a pair of binoculars, just checking out the bad guys and when they're going to attack. And then he's got his gun immediately. He goes downstairs and sort of beats them up and shoots them. And you might think in today's day and age of
political correct, politically correct narratives.
Yeah, indeed, that wouldn't be possible, but it is. And the other thing about the Sweeney is you get everybody who's any good playing a bit part in the Sweeney. So you get like Gwenda Jackson and John Hurt and sort of
you also had
anybody.
You had Morecambe and Wise.
Yeah, Morecambe and Wise and the Sweeney.
One of your favourite episodes.
That was insane. Yeah, no, it's just unbelievable. Like Morecambe and Wise driving around in a car, beating up bad guys.
And you got the box set of the Sweeney, didn't you?
It's over there.
It's over there. Yeah, with Glenn. I should point out, Glenn has a monolith DVD collection. It's just ever spiraling out of control. So whenever I see you're often like offloading ones that you're not that fussed on to me for a watch.
No, it's not quite that. I'd say a good 80% of the DVDs that I've got, because DVDs are going out of fashion.
With streaming and what have you.
Yeah, so you go to the pound shop, and if it's only a quid to buy the complete Rising Damp.
Great show.
Over there for £1, the complete
Magic
Rising Damp. Yeah, but Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, all of this
Michael
kind of
Bay,
stuff for a quid.
yeah.
All of these things for a quid.
Yeah.
Then quite often you find yourself forgetting that you bought one for a quid.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you buy another one, and then you give it to Mark McCann.
Duplicates, yeah. So I get all the duplicates.
You do.
Bad Boys 1 and 2, two of the very few films, along with The Rock, that I actually really, really like that Michael Bay has done. I love The Rock. I love Bad Boys 1 and 2. They're great action movies.
No, they're great.
Great.
It's just, you know. So my daughter was over here over the weekend, and, you know, she's only just 19, and she'd never seen Being John Malkovich.
Oh, really?
Which I picked up for a quid. Show. Being John Malkovich, which I picked up for a quid from the pound shop, and she'd never seen it before. And she'd seen the Will Ferrell, I can't remember the name of the Will Ferrell, Charlie Kaufman film.
Oh, yes, okay.
You know the one
It's the one where he's narrating his own life. And he's the author.
No, it's not him.
It's
not. What's her face? The daughter of the Magic Roundabout.
I can't
that
remember.
Comedian.
Yes, I do know.
Person.
I do know who you're talking about.
But the idea is that he's a fictional character, and there's this narration that he hears because it's her narrating his story, and she says that he's going to die and all this kind of stuff, which is very. Compared to Being John Malkovich, it's really, really sweet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But Being John Malkovich is a bit hard ass.
Yeah, it's that existential punch, isn't it?
Yep. There's a bit of that.
Yeah. So, what do you call it? What are you? Barring our future shot, Glenn? What are you working on at the minute? Now, and I should also add that you don't listen to music for inspiration, so your background noise has to be TV.
Crap TV.
Crap TV.
But not that crap.
But not so shit that it distracts you by its shitness.
Yeah.
So it has to be TV. But what are you working on right now?
Well, there's a series of covers for Neil Gaiman's American Gods. I think there's about another 4 or 5 left of them for me to do. I've got the Mark McCann Future Shock. I've got a few pages left of the script that I've got remained of Mute, Duncan Jones' Dark Horse thing. I've got something I'm working on at the moment with Mike Barron.
Mike Barron of Nexus fame.
Yep.
So all
Nexus
the
Nexus and stuff like that. Nexus. I was sitting next to him. Nexus. I was. Sorry about that. I was sitting next to him in Pensacola, Florida. It's like he had a table next to mine, and I had a table next to his. Funnily enough. Geographically speaking.
As you do.
Yeah, mathematically, that kind of thing. So we got talking, and he got this idea for a brand new creator-owned comic strip thing, and I thought it sounded like a really good idea. So we've been chatting about it, and I sort of said, it sounds great. So we're going to be working on it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So this is you mentioned Neil Gaiman as well. Neil Gaiman is something of he's something that you don't see too much in the writer world, and that is almost like a rock star writer. There's very few of them. I guess maybe Stephen King, J.K. Rowling,
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore. Although Alan Moore is sort of a bit more obscure, he would be a bit more comic booky, whereas Neil Gaiman seems to.
All right.
Go on then.
If Alan Moore was a rock star, which rock star would he be?
If Alan Moore was a rock star, which rock star would he be? That's a toughie. That's a real toughie. I was going to say...
Frank Zappa?
Maybe.
No.
Maybe. See, if he was a rock star, he would have to be a rock star who kind of felt jaded by the business, which is ultimately...
Yeah, but all those ones have committed suicide.
Yeah. Well, that is the...
Is he Amy Winehouse? Is Alan Moore the Amy Winehouse?
Oh, Jesus. No. No, he's a jaded genius, you see. He's probably... His deconstructionist method towards superheroics is probably responsible for the modern era, right? It probably is. So if you think about it like that,
Brian Eno, is he the Brian Eno of comics? Is Alan Moore the Brian Eno of comics?
Yeah, maybe. And if he's the Brian Eno, then who is Neil Gaiman?
Oh, I would probably say David Cassidy.
David Cassidy?
No, that's not the one I meant. Oh God! No, sort of Neil Gaiman would be.
Come on, Glenn.
Michael Bolton.
Michael Bolton. Seriously?
I don't want to give offence to him.
No, I know. I would say he would. It's a toughie.
Inspirational.
He looks like, he's got the same look.
I'm trying to think of people that would sort of fulfil that criteria.
Yeah, he does have a sensational following. This is a guy who has broke through all the...
Peter Gabriel?
Maybe, yeah. He's broken through all the medium barriers, you see, because he's transcended, literature into comics, into film, you could say, to an extent. Music. He definitely had a massive influence on Tori Amos. And, if you look at his work with... I guess not work, but marriage to Amanda Palmer, and they're the ultimate sort of art couple, aren't they? Hugely successful, draw on each other's sort of energy, and from what I've seen of them anyway. And he's a fan of your work, and he likes to get you on covers.
I don't know if he's a fan of my work necessarily. I think he just kind of likes it, and. Thank you very much, Neil. It's like you kept me employed. I think one of the best things that I've done as a comic strip artist is the Neverwhere thing. I'm really proud of that with Neil Gaiman and Mike Carey.
Mike Carey, yeah. Mike Carey he's another really nice bloke, and he's
got movies.
He's got movies out, yeah.
Mike Carey movies now.
Well, the last time I was talking to him, he was doing a script for a movie. I was asking him how things were going. Normally, Mike and I just argue about politics and
what is he, a fascist?
Facebook Messenger. No, he would probably he would probably accuse me of being a bit too centre left, where he would be a bit further to the left than me. I'm a bit more centrist. And
are you a Corbynista?
I'm not a Corbynista.
Is he a Corbynista?
I'd say maybe. He's definitely he definitely would have been pro.
Is he a Carrionista?
What's a what?
A Carrionista.
What's a Carrionista?
Mike Carey.
Oh, sorry, I'm a bit slow today. That reminds me, I should get in touch with him and see if he'll come on the podcast. He'll probably like, that Mark McCann, all he ever does is argue with me about politics. But I would love to get him on, because he's written some of my favourite stuff, including adapting Neverwhere with you. So he wrote Lucifer, which was one of my favourite series, and also Hellblazer.
They brought back Vertigo, and Lucifer is one of the few things that is a continuing series. I mean, they dropped Hellblazer and everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lucifer is still knocking about.
Is Hellblazer not just Constantine now, and it's been folded into the main DC universe?
Yeah.
Which is a real pity, because Hellblazer was my favourite title.
Hellblazer with the Vertigo thing.
It was Vertigo, yeah.
The whole point of it.
And John Constantine from his inception point in Swamp Thing.
John Constantine.
Constantine, excuse me.
I was at a sort of, actually this is going back a bit, but I was at that, Jamie
Delano.
Jamie Delano. Yeah, I was at Bedford thing with Jamie Delano, and people were asking him questions about John Constantine, and he got really cross to the people who were asking him questions. It's not Constantine, it's Constantine. Why didn't everybody understand that it's Constantine? And I
I
did
didn't
this
know
check.
that either. I thought.
Yeah, well, you know,
I think
he
there's
said, why does everybody pronounce it Constantine? And I said, because of the huge teen audience in America. And I thought that was hysterically funny, but nobody else did.
Well, it's funny because I think they do have. There's a TV show called Constantine, except it's pronounced Constantine, I believe. I
Is
believe
that the same Constantine?
Yeah,
Constantine?
he's got a TV show. Well, it ran for one season, and then
I
it
think
was
it ran
cancelled.
for 2 seasons because, and the guy was miles better than Keanu.
Well, I liked that. I actually liked that movie.
You like
I
the
did-
Keanu one?
I quite liked it. I thought it.
If you go to the pound shop and pick up the Constantine
Constantine teen.
Keanu, if you pick that up and you get the extra special disc,
Oh yeah.
they got all of these people, famous people, and they're being interviewed in front of my paintings.
Get
My
away.
paintings behind them. So there's Karen Berger and Keanu and all everybody else there. And they're all like, my paintings are behind them.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the very end bit and all the credits kind of roll up, I was expecting to see my name. Did I fuck?
Do you know? It's funny. I was listening to an interview of the late Harlan Ellison recently, and one of his biggest bugbears was that no one pays the artist, or in his case the writer, and he complained profusely and said that he wouldn't take a piss without getting paid, and he said that
That didn't help his career. If I tried that one, I wouldn't give it 10 seconds and boot me out.
well, he said he said that he was called up about doing commentary for the extra discs on one of the series of Babylon 5 that he'd been involved in.
Okay.
He said he was called up and he said how much are you going to pay me? And they said, oh, everyone else is doing it for free. And he said,
I'm going to take a piss!
he said, fucking pay me, or something to that effect. But he said he would not take a piss without getting paid.
Oh my God, the poor man!
Yeah, so there you go. Do you feel like the art is underfunded? Do you feel like you can, it could be better?
I feel personally underfunded. You know, I think that I should basically be saving up bottles of my own urine and be able to give them away to people at convention centres. So there you go. That's $50, mate. $50. There you go.
Harlan Ellison told me. Yeah, or the late
how to
Harlan
do that.
Ellison. The late Harlan Ellison told me that this is actually quite valuable.
This is way to go.
I was voted best artist in the world. What was it? Twice in a row.
What?
Did you not get voted?
I won 1995. I won the Eisner Award for best cover artist. So it goes Alex Ross, Glenn Fabry, Alex Ross. It goes like that. And the other time I got an Eisner Award for the work I did for Neil Gaiman's Endless Night.
Oh, okay.
So I got 2 Eisner Awards.
2 Eisners, eh?
Yeah.
That's not too shabby.
Yeah, I know, but you meet some people and I've got fucking 10 of them.
Alex Ross, perchance.
Oh, yeah, he's all right.
He's all right. You say he's just all right. I think he's a bit better than all right. Come on.
Yeah, of course he is. There are quite a few people who've done better than me in the award stakes, but Marvels are better than theirs. It's got my name in them and not theirs.
Well, in fairness, 2 Eisners. 2 Eisners is better than none. It's better
That's
than
true.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I haven't got any Eisners.
2 Eisners is better than 1.
Yeah.
One Eisner is better than 1.
Exactly. So you always got to look at it.
Break into a blues tune.
Glass half full. Glass half full. Yeah. So anyway,
2 Eisners is better than 1.
You gotta get your 2 Eisners.
Is better than none. 'Cause 2 Eisners is better than none.
I feel like you missed out on a really good career in blues. You could have stood in I don't know, for Jagger or something maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
So when he felt sick,
yeah.
just call me up the Rolling Stones.
Exactly. You could have stood in for Jagger, and you know, as long as you got your wee hip movements going.
All of that. Nowadays, hip replacement movements.
Yeah, you were complaining to me that you're coming up on a certain birthday.
Well, hang on a sec. You know, sort of 3 years off yet. Well, 2.5 really. 2.5 years away from being 60.
Fuck.
Exactly. When did that happen?
Where did that come from? Because
I've
you know,
no
like
idea.
it's strange for me because I grew up looking at your artwork, and so you know, I remember being regaled by your Slaine tales, and then obviously seeing all your cover art, and so it's weird for me to stick an age on you because you know,
Because it's still got a full flowing head of hair.
You jammy bastard. Unlike me, male pattern of baldness struck early.
Yeah, I've got, you know, sort of beautiful schoolgirl complexion.
Yeah.
All my teeth have fallen out. But, see the size of my tits. Oh, Jesus. Jesus Christ. It's ill.
Yeah, but think of it, you're relatively well preserved for a 60-year-old, yeah?
I'm not 60 yet. I've got another 3 years.
You've got another 3 years. Yeah, happy enough. You look like
I look like a well-preserved 56-year-old.
I was going to say you look like John Hurt for his age.
But he's dead!
Oh, yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so what else shall we talk about? We've sort of drifted off topic.
You were talking about Future Shocks 2000 AD.
Yeah, 2000 AD.
Because you want to advertise the fact that hopefully you're going to be in 2000 AD for the Future Shocks.
Is this just an advertising exercise for me? I thought it was a conversation between the pair of us about
No, it's
comics.
advertising.
It's advertising. Okay.
It's
I once heard a very famous writer, I won't mention his name, you might not appreciate it, but he said that he hated all this advertising stuff and conventions in particular, but he didn't enjoy them at all until he saw the commercial side of it, and that was what convinced him that, you know, I might actually have to do this because there's fucking tons of money in it. So, especially the struggling artisan.
He's not a writer or whatever, but William Shatner.
Were you talking to him?
No, I've seen him there
at the convention.
Yeah, I haven't talked. I haven't talked to William Shatner or Lou Ferrigno or
They would inhabit convention space with you though.
Who's the guy who's in Nightmare on Elm Street? Robert Englund.
Robert Englund,
yeah, he's always there, and so is the guy from Back to the Future, Doctor. What's the name of that actor?
Oh, Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, I mean those guys are always there.
I heard he was notoriously shy.
No, he's a wonderful bloke. He's nice. I've spoken to him a couple of times.
Okay.
Just sort of generally, sort of rubbish like that.
But
those guys are always at these conventions.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of the conventions, you can make so much money out of it.
Wow.
I think the reason why it's taken George R.R. Martin so long to finish the Game of Thrones, if he has already, is that people were paying him shitloads of cash to go over to Tokyo
to conventions.
Or whatever, and just like sort of sit there for 2 weeks while everybody tells him he's God, pays him a crap load of money, and then
that's the artisanal dream, isn't it? Really, that you will eventually be recognised for your art, paid for it, and publicly.
Yeah. But why bother to do anything if somebody is paying you £250,000 to go for a week in Tokyo and just sit there while people tell you you're brilliant?
Yeah, it'd be very hard to be motivated because I guess there's an interesting psychological theory, and that is that if you tell something and somebody that you're going to do something, and then they reward you by saying that's great, then the chances of you actually doing it are lesser because you've already had the psychological reward. So it's kind of like if you were to say to me, oh, I'm going to paint this amazing picture, and I'd go, oh, Glenn, your artwork's fantastic, and I'm sure it'll be amazing. You would go, thank you, and then you wouldn't bother painting it because maybe you were going to do it to impress people, but you know, you'd already got that psychological reward. Of course, if you're getting financially rewarded as well, in the case of attending a convention, maybe the chances of somebody, you know, completing, in George R.R. Martin's case, the books is even less because, you know, as you say, you're getting tons of money and you can just show up at these things and it's a gift and everyone's telling you you're great.
Yeah, exactly. And they're giving you money just for breathing in and out.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. What kind of a job is that?
A really good one.
Better than working in Asda.
It is better than working in Asda or Tesco's.
Unless Asda or Tesco's are paying you...
Yeah, thousands of quid.
Yeah, for breathing in and out.
And all you have to do is sit in one of the aisles and everyone comes in and says, you're wonderful. You're the best employee in Tesco's.
I love your fish sticks. They're the best in this entire aisle.
Well, yeah, so your next convention is, you told me earlier, I can't remember.
Yeah.
3 weeks? 3 weeks?
I'm going to be in Monroe in America. That's by the 28th of next month. There's that one. I'm also going to be in Warsaw, Poland, with Bisley.
Lovely.
And the next one after that, in November, I'm going to be in Italy for Lucca, for which I've got to do 4 or 5 pages of graphically obscene sexual violence for one of their books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Graphically obscene sexual violence.
Yeah.
Oh dear, it sounds like something I'd probably read, but you know, or politically correct.
Do you know Italian?
Do I know Italian? No.
Okay. Well, it's going to be...
It's going to be in Italian.
Yeah.
Oh yes, are they that a convention that did that lovely hardback volume of all your paintings?
Yeah, so it's Lucca in Italy. It's a really weird place to go to. It's like a walled city in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they've got a massive wall around it in order to protect it from, you know, Vikings or whatever. You know, they've got this huge medieval kind of stuff.
You've travelled everywhere at this point. You were at Niagara Falls this year. You're just back from Brazil. You get invited to all these conventions.
It's only because of the television series.
Preacher.
Yeah, not just Preacher, but to a lesser extent, obviously, the American Gods.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah. People have been inviting me along to these conventions, and you know, it's now a couple of years ago. You know, my oldest friends, sort of people I've known for at least 35 years, you know, that kind of thing, all went up and died. So, you know, if somebody's going to invite me anywhere now, I kind of think, yeah, why the fuck not?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got to, you know, you got to be a yes man whenever those opportunities are presented to you, because it's a great opportunity to see somewhere different, but also meet new people, network, and yeah, I mean, like you say, your last project with Mike Barron, you know, it came about through networking with him.
Exactly, yeah. Well, we've got a few things to work out about it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, he seems keen on it, I'm keen on it, it seems like a funny idea, and it's also going to be kind of create around, which will be, you know...
And I mean, for people breaking in as well, people looking to get into the industry, I think you can't underestimate the value of meeting, you know, artists and editors and writers and what have you at conventions, and, you know, it's...
It would be harder for a writer, I would have thought, to kind of break into it, because... if I get people coming up to me today, well, not today, obviously, because I'm at home, but, you know, you go to conventions and stuff like that, and people come out and say, how am I going to break into comic strips as an artist? You know, just refer them not refer them exclusively, but the Ryan Brown sort of thing, which is put your stuff out on Facebook so people can see what you can do, and then, you know, because people look at your artwork if you go to the correct sort of site,
Yeah.
and you can look at other people's artwork and all that kind of stuff and evaluate them and all that. It's much easier.
As an artist.
Yeah.
As a writer, the only...
I mean, you're not going to be able to, you can't really give them a couple of chapters or something like saying, what do you think of this? Because then you know they'll just steal it from you and say, no, I know that. I did that one.
Well, you know, the issue with writing, I guess, and this is a subject that's, I'm glad we've brought this up because it's quite interesting and I think it'll interest people who are listening in. But the writing, you have to be a bit more creative about how you get in. So how I got in was actually meeting people who were artists, showing that I had a sort of previous body of work, being just, you know, I guess not being, you know, a crazy fan and going, oh my God, I love your work, please work with me, but saying, you know, well, I've got these ideas for a story and floating those ideas and, you know, just, I guess more than anything, it was like building up a friendship with people, you know, becoming friends. You know, not in a cynical way. No, you're recoiling. Oh my God, did he befriend me for my art skills? No, it was, you know, not in a cynical sort of way, but you do end up becoming friends with people that you meet, and it's about saying, well, you know, how about we do something together, or maybe if you're starting out, pay somebody to do some art for you with your writing, and always take criticism well. I mean, go with your gut, but also if someone is vastly more experienced than you, or editor or something, or a writer who's been in the field for a long time, take their advice. And whenever you've got a body of work, you've worked with an artist, and you can show that strip to somebody, I find that you show an editor, you go, oh, I've worked with this artist and here's a strip we did together. Then they can look at that artwork. It will influence how they feel about the strip, especially if it's good artwork, and that will improve your chances of getting in. But then again, I'm at the very bottom rung of the ladder, and I've only really been trying to do this for about 2 years, less, 2 years. So that would be my advice. Probably Pat Mills, who was on recently, could give some good advice. But right now, the whole do-it-yourself thing, do it yourself, get your own stuff out there somehow. But then also take as much advice and help, and befriend as many people as you can on the way through, because...
Stab them in the back the older you get. They won't know. Get rid of them.
Shut up the competition.
Take their ideas and stab them in the kidney. They'll only be concentrating on the pain in their kidney while you run through their library taking all their books away.
Oh,
yeah.
You absolute...
That's the way to do it.
You absolute fucker.
I thought you liked me.
I do. I love you. Yeah, but that's only because I'm an absolute fucker as well, and we gravitate, you know, we orbit each other. But yeah, I mean, okay, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to call it a day, because I have to go and get ready for work. Oh, fucking woe is me. But anyway, we will definitely do this again sometime, because I really enjoy our podcasts, and obviously we meet each other for coffee regularly enough that, you know, there's always the opportunity. I think people will always find our...
Most of the time when we meet each other for coffee, we're both crying, aren't we?
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Through the pain.
Through the pain of the artisan existence.
No, the coffee is so awful.
Cafe Melrose are lovely.
Go here again, do we?
Cafe Melrose are lovely. Take that back. Cafe Melrose, Lisburn Road, everybody. It's a gem.
Yeah,
but anyway,
product placement.
Product placement.
Get a couple of quid out of them. Or at least a couple of cups of coffee.
Should get them to sponsor us. Yeah, free cups of coffee.
T-shirts.
Yeah, no, I'm up for that. I'm up for that. Okay. Well, Glenn, watch out for Glenn in Con in where was it again?
Monroe.
Monroe. Okay, and watch out for his upcoming
California, I think, but it might not be.
You've got your...
But it's in America.
Yeah.
Monroe, America.
And you've got your upcoming American Gods covers, so buy some American Gods.
Yeah, I've got a few of them left to do.
And then watch out for our Future Shock, which will be, hopefully, will knock your socks off, hopefully.
Definitely.
Definitely,
Don't
yes.
say hopefully.
Okay, well, I didn't want to seem arrogant.
Yeah, it's difficult to actually know how to deal with that stuff. because like sort of half the time you're supposed to be kind of going, yes, I am the best in the entire world, and then you're supposed to go, yeah, but.
Yeah, I'm too self-reflective. I think everything I do shit about 10 minutes
so
after
do
I've done
I.
it. Yeah.
So don't feel bad about it.
And that's all I feel. I beat myself up continually. Well, here, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll do this again sometime. Guys, this has been Considering Comic Books. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us some comments in the comment section. As always, it would be a delight to hear from you. Take care, and we will see you next time.
Bye!
Thanks for watching the video, and if you enjoyed it, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you. You can follow me at Consider Comics on Twitter, and that's consider_comics, and you can check out my own work with my artistic collaborator, very talented Ryan Brown, over at his website, ryanbrownart.com, where the first part of our free online webcomic, Esther the Relique, is available for free. Please enjoy, and if you like it or hate it and you've got any criticism or feedback, we would love to hear from you.